Picture the scene. The grand theatre of European power, under the blinding lights of the European Parliament, the most powerful unelected woman in history, Ursula von der Leyen, stands frozen at the lectern. Before her sit 705 elected representatives, their eyes fixed on her like hawks. Outside those walls, tens of millions are watching the live broadcast, unaware they are about to witness the sudden collapse of an untouchable era. Then comes the silence. Not a tactical pause to gather thoughts, but a deafening, suffocating silence that fills the hall like thick smoke. It is the kind of quiet that only happens when a person has been discovered with no escape, no explanation, and no version of the truth left to sell. For seconds that feel like an eternity, the President of the European Commission says absolutely nothing. Not a single word. The shock deepens as she slowly gathers her papers, avoids every gaze, and slips out through a side exit while the chamber erupts into pure, unadulterated chaos. The reason was glowing on the screens behind her. Irrefutable, verifiable documentation. These weren't leaked rumors or opposition propaganda. They were the cold, hard records of secret decisions and unsupervised transfers. At the heart of the storm, the ghost of 35 billion euros in public funds. Money negotiated via deleted text messages on a personal phone, a direct and deliberate bypass of the legal committees meant to guard the taxpayers' interests. As she vanished, three of Europe's most influential power players, Giorgia Meloni, Friedrich Merz, and Viktor Orban, watched with terrifying intensity. They are rivals who agree on nothing, yet in that moment, their eyes told the same story. The invincible shield of Brussels has finally shattered. In the cold, clinical halls of Brussels, they say power isn't taken, it's surrendered. But what happened next was a calculated multi-front assault by three leaders who, under any other circumstances, wouldn't share the same room, let alone the same strategy. To understand why Ursula von der Leyen fled that room, you have to understand the three shadows looming over her. Giorgia Meloni, Friedrich Merz, and Viktor Orban. This isn't just a political disagreement. This is a blood feud. The Italian grudge. Meloni's long memory. The friction between Rome and Brussels didn't start with a document. It started with a threat. In September 2022, just days before the Italian elections, von der Leyen committed the ultimate cardinal sin of diplomacy. She looked into a camera and told the world that if Italy took a difficult direction, meaning if they voted for Giorgia Meloni, the Commission had tools. Everyone knew what those tools were. It was a thinly veiled threat to freeze billions in recovery funds, a financial guillotine held over the neck of Italian sovereignty. For Meloni, it was a declaration of war. She didn't forget. Since taking power, Meloni watched as the Commission slowed down every payment and added rigorous layers of bureaucracy that felt less like oversight and more like political blackmail. But Meloni is a grandmaster of the long game. She didn't scream. She waited. She understood something von der Leyen had forgotten. When you accumulate that much personal power, you stop calculating the cost of making enemies. Meloni wasn't just looking for a political win. She was looking for the kill shot. The German dagger, Merz's Brutus moment. If Meloni was the external threat, Friedrich Merz was the rot from within. This is the part that Brussels insiders are whispering about in terrified tones. Merz isn't an outsider. He is the leader of Germany's CDU, the bedrock of the European People's Party, EPP. For years, the EPP has been von der Leyen's iron shield. As long as the family stayed loyal, she was mathematically untouchable. You need an absolute majority of 705 deputies to bring her down, a number never reached in EU history. But Merz just shattered the glass. By publicly breaking with her, he sent a signal to every conservative deputy in Europe. The shield is gone. Protecting Ursula is no longer a matter of party loyalty. It's a political liability. In the cold arithmetic of power, Merz has decided that her time is up. When Germany's most powerful conservative says enough, the tectonic plates of the EU don't just shift, they crack open. The Hungarian junta, Orbán's lethal archive. Then there is Viktor Orbán. While Brussels treated him as a pariah, freezing his funds and accusing him of undermining the rule of law, Orbán was doing something far more dangerous. He was building an archive. The Hungarian government didn't waste time sending empty letters to committees that would take 3 years to answer. They looked where the legal teams never thought to guard: the financial layer. Orbán's team tracked how the Commission under von der Leyen stopped functioning as a collective body of rules and started functioning as a personal executive tool. He didn't just find the Pfizergate messages, he found the money trail. He found the records of how 450 million citizens were being governed by a shadow cabinet, a tiny circle of unelected advisors, chiefs of staff, and private consultants who never appeared on a ballot, never answered to a parliament, yet made decisions worth tens of billions of euros. The transformation from visionary to vigilante. The documents that left Ursula speechless revealed a terrifying transformation of the European Commission. In less than 18 months, she had systematically bypassed her own commissioners, people appointed by national governments. They were being ignored. Their offices were ghosted. Their legal competencies were bypassed. Instead, power was concentrated in a bunker mentality. Every major decision, on energy, on the pandemic, on the war in Ukraine, required 3 things: less oversight, less documentation, zero access for the auditors. The agile system she praised was actually a black hole of accountability. When journalists or committees asked questions, they were met with a wall, delays, procedural objections, and finally, carefully worded responses that said everything without admitting anything. It was a perfect system for avoiding accountability, until the documents on that screen made it impossible to hide. The alliance of Meloni, Merz, and Orbán isn't about ideology. It's about the fact that the Queen of Brussels forgot one simple rule: the bigger the empire, the more people want to see it burn. The silence in the chamber wasn't just about deleted texts. It was about the 35 billion euros smoking gun. While the media focused on the missing messages, the true explosion was buried in the financial layer of the contracts, the deception in the numbers. The documents revealed a terrifying truth. The official version of the Pfizer deal was a fairy tale. Behind the scenes, in the bunker, the price structures, volume commitments, and contractual modifications shifted wildly. These changes weren't just technical. They happened in perfect synchronization with those deleted private exchanges between von der Leyen and the Pfizer CEO. Billions of euros in public money were committed based on projections that investigators now believe were deliberately inflated. This wasn't just a lack of transparency, it was an institutional bypass. The Parliament realized they hadn't been supervising a deal. They had been reading a script while the real theatre happened in the dark, the 3 paths to the abyss. As the shockwaves spread through the capitals of Europe, 3 scenarios are now being debated in the shadows. The fortress, resistance. Ursula attempts to wait out the storm. Her legal team delays every filing, hoping the 24-hour news cycle moves on. But this relies on one impossible condition: no more leaks. In a Brussels that has tasted blood, the leaks are only getting started. The elegant exit. Resignation. A voluntary step down to protect the stability of the Union. This is the favorite of the diplomats. A way to cut off the gangrenous limb before the infection kills the entire commission. The political guillotine, censure. For the first time in history, the magic number of 705 deputies is within reach. If the EPP's discipline continues to crumble, the motion of censure becomes a reality.